Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking episode 5 of season 3 of The Flash called Monster. And all in all, I thought this was mostly an okay episode. Let's just kind of get right into it. So the whole thing with the monster bouncing around town and ultimately turning out to be just a hologram created by some kid, honestly that all felt pretty weak to me. I don't think this kid is anybody from the comics. He doesn't ring any bells, and the reaction I've seen from other people online doesn't really seem to. Nobody seems to have gone like, oh, it's actually this guy. So I think he's just sort of a throwaway character. Although I do like the fact that they gave Joe that scene where he gets to kind of point to the kids like, look, you're gonna have to pay for what you did, but this doesn't have to ruin the rest of your life. You can turn things around from here. And granted, he's 15 years old, so unless he ends up in front of a very, very hardcore judge, this is probably going to get sealed under his juvenile record. Of course, here in the U.S., I think kids as young as 12 have been okayed to be tried as adults, although in all fairness, that's usually in cases of murder. So we'll see. Well, no, we won't really. I don't think anybody's really going to care about what happens to this kid. Um, so let's see what else. So here we finally find out a little bit more about what's going on with HR, and I like how he just sort of ultimately turns out to be this novelist, rather than And I mean, they even kind of put flicks the screen and says like, "Oh, great, we get the one Harrison Wells who's not actually a scientist." Now, Wells is obviously not a dumb guy, and he does make a couple of useful suggestions, and he even kind of points that out. And he does make reference to how, like, the real brains of his system, on his Earth at Star Labs, is his partner, whom he refers to using he. So, okay, we're obviously dealing with a guy, and you know that since they really took pains not to specifically say this character's name, this is going to turn out to be a thing somewhere down the road. Particularly since it's mentioned that there's a Flash on Earth 19. Part of me wants to turn out to be like just some sort of alternate reality version of Eobard Vaughn, who just sort of ended up back in the 21st century and said, you know what, rather than kill this guy, how about I just become his business partner? Which, I don't know, it's kind of ridiculous, but I think that would just be fun. And it's never quite a season if we don't have a little bit of fun with it's just going to be a little bit of fun. It would just be fun to see a little bit more of Reverse Flash again this season. But he's got stuff to do over on Legends of Tomorrow, so we'll have to see. Let's see here. Nothing really particular to say about Iris this episode. Just nice to see her and Barry working together to help those people on the bus. Shows that reminds us that Iris is a very brave lady. Nothing particular to say about Wally this episode, although HR does refer to him as Walter, and he corrects him as Wally. Well, this is a little weird because in the comics, Wally's legal first name is actually Wallace, not Walter. Now, if you're familiar with the comics, you know that Walter West has some history, so they might be going in that direction. That's some area of Flash lore I'm not super well versed on, so I'm just going to leave that be for the time being. Let's see. This episode also serves to kind of, well, one, we also get to see Captain Singh again, which is cool. And I did like that scene between him, Barry, and Julian. Julian does have some very legitimate complaints about Barry's behavior and professionalism. But Singh also gets is like, okay, yeah, Barry's a bit of a flake, but on the other hand, he was really one of the first cops in this entire precinct to really jive to dealing with metahumans. And we're still kind of getting the hang of all of this, and he has a real knack for these cases, so I'm going to cut him some slack. And I did like that Barry's does take sort of a mature thing. He's like, look, man, I know we don't get along. Let's try and deal with this as adults. And yeah, he does kind of kiss Albert's butt a little bit, but it does ultimately work out. Barry saves Julian's life. Julian gets some nice time to sort of explain his backstory and where he came from and why he's kind of like how he is. And He makes the very good point that a lot of these people who are gifted with these abilities use them to go around and do terrible things, and it's just like such a terrible waste. You're given this amazing gift and you use it for stupid, selfish, petty reasons. Which, let's be real, if most people were given powers like that, they would go out and either try and get revenge on people they didn't like, or they would try to do something really stupid to make money. Or they'd probably just go on YouTube or TV or whatever and sort of use their powers that way. Kind of funny that we haven't really seen any sort of like celebrity metas yet. People who do Las Vegas shows with superpowers or something like that. God, can you imagine? That would bring the house down in Vegas. Although, using actual magic to perform stage magic in Las Vegas is actually kind of Satana shtick. Or at least it has been in the past. Let's see, what else do we need to talk about? I also like how the whole thing of almost killing some misguided teenager, I mean, that's a real gut punch for Julian and really causes him to take a serious look at himself and his life and sort of realize the value the Flash brings to the city, and also kind of take another look at sort of Barry as a guy. Barry came along and sort of tried and made a point to sort of cheer him up when he was seriously down, even though Barry had every reason in the world to not like him. So, saving his life, kind of being there in a friendly way when he was at a real low point. Yeah, you can definitely see why Julian would sort of be willing to revise his opinion of Barry. And I do like how they have that moment. It's like, hey man, you want to get a drink? And like, yeah, actually, that would be really cool. Let's see. Yeah, actually, I can't really think of anything else. Oh, right, duh, Caitlin. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on with Caitlin this episode. We get to meet her mom and find out a little bit more of her backstory. Apparently, her mom more or less threw herself into her work to kind of deal with her father's death, and just sort of left Caitlin out to dry. And I like that at least her mother sort of, once Caitlin starts to really press her about it, kind of owns up to like, yeah, okay, you're right to be mad at me. I wasn't a very good mother, but I was just doing what I needed to do to survive. And you could, like, Caitlin kind of, she does have that moment where it's like, you don't know what this is like. And when Caitlin points out, it's like, yeah, my husband died. And you kind of get the impression that her mom didn't even know that Caitlin was married or that Ronnie had died. So, yeah, this really shows just how seriously estranged the two of them were. And once her mom gets, like, oh, wow, this is really serious, she does seem to be taking, like, genuinely concerned for Caitlin's well-being. I was kind of, like, waiting for that shift where it's sort of like, you're going to find out, like, her mom egged that assistant guy on to do that to Caitlin, to not let her leave. And I wouldn't be completely surprised if something like that still happened. But her mom's fear with the whole don't use your powers because the more you use them, the more you're going to change. That seemed very, very legitimate. It's just still seems very strange that Caitlin really just will not open up to Cisco and Barry about all of this. Granted, everybody's got a lot on their plate, and they've seen before that once you're a metahuman, there really is no getting rid of it. But people do have a pretty high capacity for self-delusion, and I kind of like that what they're doing here is that it sort of even seems like this Killer Frost side of her seems to almost be changing her. It's not exactly like a split personality yet, but it's just something that comes out of her when she's really emotional. So we'll see how that all plays out. Although I thought they were being a little heavy-handed with the whole "you're not a killer" thing. And honestly, I kind of can't help but wonder if there isn't going to be some sort of way in which they're able to help Caitlin to stay a good person, but it would be really awesome if somehow her mother became Killer Frost. Obviously being her mother, she would have 50% of Caitlin's DNA would have come from her. So, that's just me being kind of thinking really crazy, but still, I gotta admit that's something that kind of keeps popping into my head. I mean, how cool, how interesting, I mean, how classic is it? You know, you're a superhero, and one of your closest friends' parents is a bad guy. I mean, look at Peter Parker having to fight Norman Osborn. Harry Osborn is one of Peter's closest friends. Of course, we've seen similar things from different other superheroes. But anyway, I think that covers everything that I had to say about this episode, so I'm going to call it here. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe, and of course you can follow me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi. Until next time, thanks for watching, take care, and have a good one.